Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. If you are watching us live or you're watching a recorded version of this exciting panel discussion, I have here with me very experienced Thrive mentors. Some of them having been mentoring with Thrive for multiple years, but most of them very senior professionals in whatever it is that they do as mentors, as coaches, and as various functional leaders. So we have Julia here, who is a professional managing business and family coaching, and she also runs her own coaching training school based out of Switzerland in the French part. Lynette, welcome, Julia. Then we have Lynette. Lynette was a cohort lead in Nairobi, recently moved to Amsterdam. She is an expert in the customer experience field. And I know that, Lynette, you are a judge on various panels. I think that is such an interesting profession. So welcome to you too. Julie, welcome to you. Julie, I've known for a long time and have had the pleasure to meet in person, which is always great. And Julie has also been a senior leader with corporates, doing consulting, with training and coaching now also as a main driver. And Kareem, repeat mentor with Thrive, I think pretty much since we launched Thrive in Zurich. And Kareem is helping leaders, organizations, and boards to actually create a more sustainable future for all of us. So a very, very warm welcome to all of you. And by way of, getting into this panel conversation, I would like to ask each one of you to share with me an anecdote, an anecdote with pick up one mentoring relationship maybe where maybe one of your mentees was a little bit stuck and maybe you were also stuck with them in that space, and what did you actually do, what worked for you to be able to turn that around? Because I think for me the objective of this panel conversation with all of you, who are experienced mentors and who've lived through multiple mentoring relationships, is to give a little bit of an impulse and a little bit of an inspiration as we end this year. So, would you like to go ahead, Lynette?
Oh, sure, I'd like to kick off these discussions. Thank you very much, Shivangi, and so nice to be here with Thrive with Mentoring. I just remember one of my mentees had a problem, especially with self-doubt, like really wondering if, there are all these successful people and they want to be successful, and they're pursuing these careers, but nothing seems to be coming. And they're like, so how did you do it? And I think for me, just narrowing down, I could see the root cause really was self-doubt. All these, I could see the vision was there, the dream was there, the drive was there, but the self-doubt kept coming and blocking, all the amazing dreams that they had. So for me, just really focusing on their strengths really made it happen. And I remember she was like, I really can't do it, there's so much that they're dealing with personally. They have to overcome so many obstacles at work, whether it's with their personal lives, and they're just like, I can't. I mean, I don't even have what it takes, And I was like, the first thing that I did was to affirm them and to validate that indeed all of us, even as mentors, we've had to overcome so many challenges. It's very easy to celebrate successes on the other end, but just realizing that we've gone through that. So validation through sharing my own journey, my own stories, my own challenges with self-doubt really validated her that, really we all go through this. We are all human beings. We have feelings. We go through things, So the validation really helped to just first of all make her know that we all go through this. And then the second thing is, then how did I overcome this? So it's just one step at a time. Sometimes when we look at all these things that we have to, the entire journey, the entire vision, whatever it is that we're aspiring to, I mean, the journey can be long and hard, but again, just putting this into biteable, sizable, daily achievable pieces that they can walk, and then looking back, they'll just realize, my goodness, I have gone this far ahead. So again, just sharing my story in how I put the necessary requisite building blocks in place, and just how I was able to overcome one challenge after another. Of course, the one thing that I was saying, you don't have to walk this journey alone. There are all these resources. There are people who are cheering you on. So whatever challenge you overcome, just know there's always a possibility and there's always a solution out there. And then the third thing is when you're breaking down or, just having a meltdown, just shout, shout and get someone else to just give you that kick, and to boost you and to keep going. So I think for me, the self-doubt that was in there, and then of course, validating that all of us as mentors or as successful people still are in that journey of overcoming the self-doubt, having validated again, how do you place this into biteable, sizable pieces that you can daily overcome, and then the other thing is just to gather the motivation daily, whether it's in resources, tapping into your mentors, seeking help from wherever you can get it from, to just keep you going so that you keep stepping and getting there. So I think for me, this really helped her to just see the possibility of becoming whatever it is that she wants to become. And she's on that journey, just like we all are, right?
Thank you. Thank you so much, Lynette. What about you, Julie?
I'm going to pick up on something that I noticed across all my mentees, and that's the feeling of being overwhelmed and how that stops you. It mentally stops the mentee from going, I can't do it. There's too much. And I found that what really helped all the mentees with overcoming this feeling of being overwhelmed and it being a blocker was really about breaking it down into something that's manageable. What's the most important thing that they want to focus on? So, for example, it could be that they really want to get a promotion. Okay, so as the mentor, you can help them navigate that journey. How are we going to get you from where you are today to your ultimate goal? And let's focus on that. And just by focusing on that one thing that's important and then helping them navigate through the steps, they lose the feeling of being overwhelmed. Because at the end, what ultimately I saw happen was they got a sense of achievement because they were doing little things at each session, in between each session that we had. And then to your point, Lynette, that's a validation. You're also there as the champion and the supporter going, you can do this, and here's how I can help you. And here's how you can help yourself. And have you thought about this? And that then starts driving them. And then it starts removing those blockers. And they go, okay, I did get that promotion. Great. I don't feel as overwhelmed now. And then, of course, with being overwhelmed, it's also providing, mentors are great because they can provide some methodologies, some approaches that helps people tackle that particular problem that they're trying to overcome. So that's what I'd say. That's what I'd say, Shivangi, was a core theme across all mentees.
Thank you. Welcome, Sridevi. We are just actually going through narrating, what an anecdote where probably your mentee felt stuck and how you helped them to overcome that. So I'll go to you, Julia. Can you share with us an example, please?
Yeah, absolutely. With pleasure. Thank you very much for inviting me and share our experience collectively and with the wider audience, whoever is listening now today. So for me, it was interesting because my mentee didn't know even what she wants to talk about. It was like for her, well, I'm just curious. I want to know how mentoring works, but you know what? I don't have anything specific to tackle or address. So, this is interesting. So how to actually drive and boost your client, your mentee or your coachee, to get out of this, I don't have anything to talk, was the following. Great. So tell me about your life. Yeah. What's happening at the moment? Let's see. What's working well? Let's focus on the positive. What's not working well? What would be, something you would like to change or maybe not? So we started to explore her life. And then from there, it was apparent actually that she was not happy at work. But she did not realize that until that moment. And something is wrong there. So she was running in this hamster wheel, and just running, but not feeling happy. But you're okay. You're in this comfort zone and you don't want to break out. And since we tackled the goal and we set the goal to say, what do we want actually for her? it was a revelation for her. It was like, oh my God. So I really, really suffer at the moment. I was not really aware. That's why I was not happy. That's why I was like reacting like that. That's why I didn't really engage at all. And the more we talked about, and the more she was really focusing on to find a new job, something better, the more opportunities open to her and the more she was preparing herself for her career move. And apparently it's not her only, other people, colleagues as well, had the same in the same company, in the same, environment. So that was really interesting, because I felt in the beginning, oh, that's going to be interesting, so let's see where we're going to go with this, when she was like, I'm happy. I don't have anything to talk about. And you know what? Everything is holy glory. But apparently, there is always something to improve. So, self reflection, asking you the questions, the challenging questions, and the general questions about what am I doing actually, and am I at the right place, was the trigger for her to identify her goal. Mind me, during our journey, we changed the goal several times. Yeah. So it was not only after we had this wonderful, coming up, this wonderful surprise about I'm not so happy at work. First, it was a different goal. Then we completely changed it again. And during our course of mentor relationship, we came to the ultimate goal, which is changing now the workplace. So that was a journey. It's like a roller coaster. You come and go. You are straight, right, left, center. And then you sometimes say, oh, there it's is the goal. Right. Okay. So what are the steps we need to take? And I think I could guide her in that respect and aspect to live a happier and more fulfilled life in her professional career as well. She did not find the job yet, but at least she knows what she wants. And that's great, because that's what's lacking in the beginning of the whole journey. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Julia. That is really an interesting one, right? Because a lot of mentees do come with clear goals, but sometimes those are probably not the most important ones that they want to achieve. So, in some ways, I guess it is interesting when they say, "Oh, everything is good." What about you, Karim? What would you like to share about a mentee who seems stuck and how you helped her overcome? Oh, I think you're on mute, Karim.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So thank you again for inviting me here, Shivagi, and for everyone who is watching. I hope this will be helpful for you. The story that came to my mind when I was thinking about an anecdote was this mentee of mine who came in very worried about her communication style. She believed that she was not able to present her ideas with assertivity, and that she was wrong, that she was not able to communicate in a matter of exposing her ideas, being understood, and really proposing things that she had in mind. She had great ideas, but she thought that she couldn't. She didn't have that style of business communication that is assertive, that is powerful in a way, that is clear. She thought that she couldn't do that. And she was then struggling because she felt that she would not ever succeed in whatever she was trying to do. So what we did to overcome that was, and she wanted to change. She wanted to be that assertive person. That was her demand, her goal. She wanted to change and be capable of a powerful communication as the others that she saw around her were being. And she actually got feedback from her boss about that. It reinforced that doubt of herself. So what we did to overcome that, we worked on her figuring out, and I actually asked her to make a list of things that first that she was good at, and then how a list storytelling, a small, very small story, 1 or 2 lines of how did you use that quality of yours to overcome a challenge. So she did that. And then after that, I asked her in a second or third session to tell me that story. Please tell me about that story. How did you do that? And she started practicing telling me how that she used that quality, that skill of hers to overcome this difficult or to resolve a problem or something else. And with that exercise, we practice a little bit of her describing her own ways of doing things and her own ideas. So we would explore back and forth. Why did you use this solution? What was your idea? What happened that you noticed there? And she could then express more and more herself in her own way. She was very introvert. She is a very introvert person. So she takes time. She's calm. She's not so let's say I have a style of communication, for instance, that's very active. I'm moving, I'm making gestures. She's more calm, she's more ponderate, she takes her time before she speaks. And she did exactly that with me. So I said, so now why, she was looking for a new job, why don't you try the stories you told me with your interviewers? And she did so. And she started getting enormously positive feedback at the interviews until she find a very good job, one that is her dream job. It's 3 years now. She's still there. She still loves what she does. And by a certain point, she came to me and she said, oh my God, I am not a different person. I'm the same person I was. And I'm communicating in the way that I know how to communicate. I never changed a thing about my communication. What I changed was my attitude towards myself, and thank you for that. And I think that is a powerful realization for her, that she could use her own style and not necessarily she didn't need to change into someone's style, someone else's style, because for her that maybe would not be effective. Effective was to find her own style of communication and believe in that. So that's the story that came to mind, because it was very powerful in the sense that at a certain point she came into the realization of that by herself, which I found very important to her development.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that, Karim. Yeah, I'm often struck by how easy it is for a lot of mentees to rattle off what is not working. But if we ask them, so what is working for you? You know, what are really your strengths? How do you differentiate yourself? That takes a lot of work and a lot of practice to put it forward in the most effective way. And last but not the least, Sri Devi. I know you've had several mentoring relationships inside and outside of Thrive. Tell us a story where you felt, that your mentee was stuck, and how did you help them to overcome that stuckness? Sri Devi, can you hear me?
Sorry, Shivangi, I lost you there. I think there was a connection.
Yeah, I realized you went off for a moment.
Yeah.
No, I'm saying that, would you like to share an anecdote with us where you helped your mentee to get unstuck?
Yeah. So thank you. Thank you for the invite. And it's great to see all the mentors. I haven't seen them in a while. So hello. Hi, everyone. Apologies for the delay. I was presenting something and there were a few questions that were being asked. So I had to stay on. So I think looking at all the different relationships, working with Thrive and of course outside Thrive and the mentoring, I think one really sticks out where one of the mentee, I was the third mentor by the time I got the person. And so prior to that, for some reason, she was a very strong, very, should we say, willful-minded individual who knew exactly what she wanted and what she didn't want. So when she passed through the two mentors, and then it came to me, and then I was thinking, okay, am I going to be able to meet up to this person's expectations? Because it's already two mentors have already passed. And I think what we worked on and where she was really stuck on is where she was so focused on, no, this is not what I need from a mentor, instead of saying what I actually need to do and what is my journey, what is my development journey. So there was a lot of, shall we say, more of pointing fingers as to what is not working because some external person. So that was internally something that she was not ready to take on. And so when I worked with her at the very first question, I said, so what is it that you are wanting to work on? And she turned the question around and she said, but how can you help me? How can you help me? And then I told her very gently, I said, how can I help you if I don't know what is it that you need help in, right? And then so she wanted me to be sort of like a salesperson, right? Sell all my attributes that I can help her. But I said, but I need to know, where do you need help in? And I think slowly it was also about building trust. And I think she was not very, she did not trust easily to be able to share her personal journey. And I think that's just certain personalities are that way. We are all that way. We don't easily build relationships very quickly as well. And so I needed to, it's almost as if I was sculpting something and I needed to chip at every little thing by asking certain type of questions, helping her get to a certain moment where she felt comfortable enough. I think after 2 sessions, she felt comfortable enough to open up and say, oh, this is what my struggle is. And personally, she was struggling something apart from professionally as well. But because there were so many challenges on the personal side, it was spilling into, as we all know, on the professional side, right? So the questions, the way that I needed to approach her, it's almost as if like I needed to be like a therapist of some sort, in asking her, making her feel comfortable, making her ensure that she can trust me, build a rapport before I could really start to help her on her journey of where she wanted to go. So the mentoring took like a year. But that really stood out for me as one of those moments where she was very clear who she didn't want to work with, and she didn't want to share what her journeys were, but she wanted the mentor to be able to give her all the things that she needs to do and sort of overlay everything at a very superficial level rather than dig deep and be able to work on. She's not the only person I've worked with in this kind of space where they feel very uncomfortable in trusting and building that relationship and the rapport. I think every one of us around the room knows that. It's about how do you make them feel comfortable enough to share that and openly say, hey, I'm here to help you and support you and to grow. We are not here to take the stories and share it with anybody else. We are here in a confidential manner, right? So for me, that really stood out. It took a really long time to build that relationship, but at the end of 1 year, that was a really good journey to go through. But that takes time. And people must be willing to come into a mentoring journey with the understanding that they're willing to make certain changes or adapt themselves to some of the things and tools and resources that are going to be there. If they're not mentally ready for that, they will go through a very different kind of journey. So that's a key thing, and it really stood out to me. I'll never forget that experience.
Thank you. Wow, I think a mentee feeling entitled towards development, but then struggling to reveal. I think it really comes from some sort of deep insecurity, right? Where it's much easier to project on the outside world rather than what's happening, within you. So thanks to all of you. I think we have some great themes that have emerged in terms of how do we keep our mentees committed to their own development? Because as you know, the post-pandemic era that most of us are living in, the overwhelm is very natural, and it is our day-to-day reality. And I think it manifests itself in so many different ways, right? I mean, some mentees feeling entitled, others saying, I don't really know what I want to work on. And then some, doubting themselves or doubting even the skill set of the mentor. It's like the whole range of things that we have there when we work with human beings. And I think mentoring is such a special relationship. Some people, benefit from it far more because they're ready to put in much more themselves into that. And I think some people will take much more the approach of, okay, what are you going to teach me or help me learn? And then they get different results from that. So, yeah, I think you also alluded, Sridevi, that at some point you felt like a therapist. I mean, I am really very, keen that people understand the differences between all of these helping professions, be it coaching, mentoring, therapy, or any other kind of, counseling work that is done. And it is true that sometimes, because of lack of clarity of these professions, one tends to flow into the other. And of course, at Thrive, we encounter from time to time people, mentors coming to us and saying, actually, they need a therapist. They don't need a mentor. I asked each one of you to send me a question that I'd like to pose to the rest of the panel members, and thank you for sending these through. Some really interesting questions. I do not expect every question to be answered by all of you, but wherever you feel the energy, please chip in. So the question that we had from Lynette was, how do you keep your mentee goal focused, given that there is this sense of overwhelm because there is just so many interruptions and challenges in our day-to-day life? So what have you done? Maybe one or two quick things that you do to keep your mentee goal focused.
I'm happy to jump in here. And for me, it's the focusing on the why. Why is it important? How does it link to your purpose? And I kind of, through the different mentees that I've had over the last couple of years, I found that's a really powerful tool because it gets them to be really true to themselves, and it brings out the authenticity, and then it drives the focus. Why is this important? Why am I doing it? Why do I want to do it? Whatever it is that you're dealing with as part of the mentor journey. So that I found is a really key thing.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Julie.
I would like to add to that, Julie. I've got a saying, whenever you're in doubt, get your values out, right? So the goal can be set maybe from the beginning, but that goal is not the goal that the person needs, the mentee needs. So when we see it struggles because we can't get to the goal, I go back to the root, and the root is the values. So I do a value elicitation process to understand better what is so important, as you say, Julie, about the life, the profession, the career, the whole overall life. Maybe there is something lacking in the personal sphere. We don't know. Or maybe something else is not met. So that the mentee, when they set the goal, is really willing, is committed, determined to reach it. And that's really important. And it's absolutely fine when we change the goal completely from scratch and redefine it. It's fine. Why? Because what we think that we need is not necessarily actually what our body, mind, and soul needs. So that's what I apply when I see we can't proceed. So there is something going wrong. So I want to know more. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that.
Shivangi, if I may, I took the question in a slightly different perspective. And when I read the question, I thought, what do I do for my mentor to be more focused and away from distraction? I said, nothing. I do nothing because it's her job to do it. I think it's not my role as a mentor. I don't see my role as a mentor to trying to motivate someone or to tell them how to do their things. I don't like micromanagement. And I think it's really unproductive that way. Of course, I realize that some mentees need that help. And then we can work out on if that is a need, what she can do about it. And I think accountability partners or accountability groups are very good to keep you focused. I think turning off, notifications on your phones and establishing routines is very good to keep you focused. I think having a coach, because this is more the role of a coach, to train people and practice certain things. I see this more as a role of a coach. It's my perspective. Obviously, other people may think see it differently. Then hire a coach and keep them, tracking you and helping you on a more frequent base. But I really don't think didn't see that you can motivate others to be focused. It needs to be their own decision, their own interest. I like what Julie said. Start with the why. I think it's a good way to help them through to get there. But it's really, I don't know. I just felt like, okay, it's not, the mentor will not take. I don't feel I like a mentor, as a mentor should take that role.
Sure, thank you. And I love the diversity of perspectives there. Sridevi, were you saying something?
Yeah, I was just going to add on to a little bit to what Julie and Julia and also maybe even Karim have alluded to. I think the component for me or working with my mentees so far has been they are getting ready on a transformation journey, whether it's a small journey or a big journey, it's up to them. And this is part of the first set of questions that I always ask at the beginning, right? I said, are you willing to go through a transformation journey? And you need to be very honest with yourself. There are going to be some moments where it's going to get very uncomfortable. And if you're not willing to go down that path, let us have a conversation about it, right? I said, if you're not willing to make that transformation, this will become not what you are expecting. I'm not here. It's not a coffee chat. I'll make that very clear. We're not sitting here and exchanging. If you want to do a coffee chat, you can always find a friend to do that, right? And I always say that to them. This is not a coffee chat. We don't need to exchange information. Okay, you tell me, and then I tell you, okay, I pat you on the back, and then off we go. No, it's not. It's a transformation journey. Unless you're willing to make that change, then you're not going to be expecting those moments of, life-changing moments that you're expecting to see, right? So it's really important that we set at least expectations. I call it expectation setting with the individual mentee up front. And then at the end of every session, I also ask questions around, how did you find this session? Was this helpful for you? How can I help you differently? Could we have explored something differently as well? So that's also a form of feedback for myself, and I'm always open to that. And if it's not working, then let us have an open conversation about it. And then that way, there's milestone, like small little milestone feedback that adds up to, this is not working, then how can we adjust it differently? And then through there, if they are not ready for their big transformation journey, they will know it themselves. And then they've had conversations. I don't think I'm ready to do that. Then I said, okay, fine, let's take a break. You go off, take a break for 2 weeks. You decide what works best, and then you come back to me when you're ready. So I also give that space to the individual to think for themselves without having to, like what Karim said, I'm not their mother, I don't need to be chasing after them. Have you done this? Have you done this? At the end of the day, this is for you. If you are choosing not to do it, then it's not a transformation journey.
Thank you. And thanks for that diversity of perspectives, where, some of you felt that it is about, helping them to discover their purpose and why, which will help them to overcome their own challenges around prioritization and really, get out of their comfort zone. And it is okay, like you said, either to take a break or to say, this is not a part of your role, right? So, and I think that's the beauty of this combination of every mentor and mentee journey, because I think we each create a very unique journey. And if you've had multiple mentees, you see that the way probably the mentoring relationship manifests itself and the way you are also changes depending on, what you're getting back, from them in terms of either, very overt, open feedback, or so maybe, at a more unconscious level. Thank you for that. So Julie had this very interesting question, and that is for you as a mentor. What has held you back with your own development? And what are some of the things that you have done to tackle that, to actually address your own development journey?
Maybe I could just start us off. So for me as a mentor, what has really held me back is imposter syndrome. And sometimes I think being an overachiever or just wanting things to quickly go, I just realized that, lately I was just like, my goodness, what else am I not doing? I need to do something. And I was looking around, I was like, I feel like I'm not being productive enough. I feel like I'm not, putting enough. I feel like I'm not. So I had all these like, I am not. And then I just told myself, Lynette, like, hold on. I mean, how about starting off and looking at how far you have come and maybe just, write those down and just, take your achievements, write them down, and then begin to celebrate your successes, and I realized therein, this is proper, serious imposter syndrome, always just, going and not really stopping to look back and celebrate my successes. And when you get into that, I realized imposter syndrome can actually make you not develop, because then you get into a position where you feel you're stuck and you're not really progressing. And for me, how I unlock that is just taking a pause, looking back at how far I've been able to come, and just taking each and every of those achievements and just clapping for myself and telling myself, you see, you're able to do this and do this and do this. And that kind of gives me motivation to propel myself forward. And then I just ask myself, okay, so if you're feeling stuck, then what exactly is it that you want to do next? So you have all these things that you want to achieve. Which one is most immediate and why? And just that just kind of helps to focus me and to narrow me down. So serious imposter syndrome it is. I need a dose for that,
Yeah. I was going to say, oh, Lynette, you're a rock star. And then I remembered you really are a rock star. By the way, I don't know if you know, ladies, Lynette is actually a real rock star. She has actually been singing and publishing videos. and I think that is really amazing. And you must watch it, Lynette. You must share a YouTube link with us.
Oh, yes. Just go to Lynette OK and you'll find me there. Lynette with a Y.
Great. Anybody else?
Yeah.
Back and what have you done about it? Yes,
yeah.
Karen.
So listening to Lynette, I'm very aligned to what you said, Lynette, because I think one of the things I've done very much in my life previously, and still sometimes do, is trying to fix what is wrong with me. And try to be better on things I'm not that great, because you receive, especially when you are still in corporate, you receive those feedback sessions and then people tell you need to improve this and that. And I've really came to believe that this is the wrong approach. Not that you don't need to improve on things, of course you do, but it's really more productive if you focus on your strengths and then celebrate your strengths. What Lynette just said, for me, I think it's really good, and it helped me a lot in overcoming my challenges, also with the mentees, because then you also help them to see their strengths instead of focusing on being perfect on every single thing, or sometimes, struggling with a feedback they receive that maybe it's not for them to deal with that in that matter of trying to be an expert on everything. One particular story, though, that I would like to share here is my name means generous, being generous, giving from the heart. And I always felt that was a mistake because I always saw myself as selfish and that I could not be that generous with others. And I think once you realize through the mentoring process, even, but other ways too, but through the mentoring process, that you actually can give and can grow by giving, you start seeing yourself also differently and being kind to yourself and say, well, maybe I'm not that generous, but I do have generosity in me. And acknowledging that, being kind to yourself, help you overcome challenges too. I think that is a very important thing that I learned about myself through the mentoring and through other relationships too along the time, along the years. But I think it's really important, because sometimes you don't acknowledge yourself for things that you believe, oh no, that's not me, I'm so selfish, how can I be that? And I think that helps, and it's aligned.
Very, very interesting. I mean, it reminds me of a teacher of mine, and we were speaking about in the class, I think this was something linked to organization development, and we were speaking about the fact that, you might envy somebody, you might envy, let's say, an excellent speaker, or you might envy somebody who is excellent at motivating people. And she said something very interesting. She said, when you envy somebody for something, you already have a version of that within you. Because if you did not have that skill within you, you would not even identify that or the strength of that in another person. Because if you don't have that, you can't see it in others, right? So like you said, if you already feel that that you can be generous in one way, generosity sits inside you. And I think sometimes, recognizing that and not saying that everything and every skill and every, possibility has to be 100%. It doesn't need to be, right? I mean, there are some things that we're going to be naturally good at and some things that we're going to cultivate over time, and giving ourselves the benefit of doubt, like we tend to give to other people, don't we? Thank you very much for that. One more response till I move us to the next question. What have you?
I would like to allude to that, Shivangi, to actually build on what Karim said. And it's about learning yourself, not being perfectionist. I left that already away. For me, as working in corporates, project management, 80% okay, 20% we can deal with it later. Let's sign off, let's go on with it. So I'm not a perfectionist at all, and I admire everyone. I love delegating because I'm not an expert on, let's say, designing the website, for example. I'm just making this. So I've got someone who can deal with this. Great. So delegate as well. It's absolutely fine. You don't need to know everything. And I've got one motto that I always use. It's like, try fast, fail fast, learn fast. Just try. Just do it. You will learn something. It might be not successful. That's good. But you will learn at least, that's something for me. No. Am I interested or no? And then you can either go that path to learn even more and ask people who are expert in this field and share your experience, get the knowledge, or you can say, oh, well, you know what, that's not for me. I don't want to do this. You identified that already, and then you can completely delegate that. So for me, this is a constant, journey. Anyways, continuous learning is on our agenda, specifically with the digital era that we're in. Somehow we need to keep the pace. We need to keep up with what's coming up. We don't need to be experts in all, definitely not. No pressure at all. And I also really resonate with what Karim said. That's also in the kind of program that I'm always doing, is like, be kind to yourself first, because the first relationship that we have in our life is with ourselves. That's me. When you come on earth, when you're born, it's you, no one else. And when people are growing, when young people are growing, the first relationship is you. So be kind to yourself, forgive yourself, have mercy. You do already great stuff. And that's the real foundation. So I just wanted to allude to that, how important that is, Karim. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, I think self-compassion is the A and O of things, as they say. There is a related question here, I think, posed by Sridevi, which said, what have you discovered about yourself, that probably was not so clear to you in a mentoring relationship? So maybe you were holding on to this version of, I'm this kind of a person, or I'm this kind of a mentor, or these are my strengths. And then when you went through a mentoring journey, something else was revealed to you, something new, something maybe opposite to what you had believed, or something that was completely, that was out of your level of awareness. Has anything like that happened? I know it's quite a provocative question. Go ahead, Julie.
I was just thinking on that question, and there's a few things that come to mind. The first is that it is possible to get over imposter syndrome. And I think that was something that in my journey as a mentor and just getting older and wiser was just with the benefit of age and hindsight, it is actually possible to overcome that. The other thing as well is that change is something that isn't to be fearful of. So, and change can be as small or as big as you want it. So one of the things that I noticed that was, really beneficial is that it, again, another possibility is to get yourself out of a fixed mindset and into a growth mindset. And that I found really took off so much more by having a variety of mentees and going through the experience from them and putting yourself in their shoes, thinking about your own experiences and your own life and your own strengths and weaknesses, and going, actually, I've got a curious mind, but a growth mindset is a curious mind without all the judgments and assumptions. And it's being able to take that step change and know that actually the art of the possible is that you can grow, you can develop, you've got something to give, and to not be fearful of imposter syndrome and not let fear start to take over in whatever form that it's manifesting itself. That's what came to mind for that question.
Thank you for sharing that, Julie. Yeah, it's fascinating, right? When you are intimately connected with the psyche of another person, like you tend to be in a mentoring relationship, I think that you, over time, especially if you do this a few times, you just hold yourself much more lightly, don't you? I think that you take things a little bit from another perspective. You're not like stuck on one particular way because you just say that people tick so differently. Thanks for sharing that. Any other responses? If if something was revealed to you during a mentoring journey?
Yeah, since it was my question, I can also answer.
Always.
Because I thought of myself as I was, it's like, hey, what have I discovered about myself?
Yeah.
I think I think for me, it was really starting at a place of wanting to help others. But I also realized that I was harder on myself all the time, right? If you want to call it, a recovering perfectionist, if you want to call that, for the lack of a better word. But I was always hard on myself. Hey, I could have done this better. Why didn't I do this better? So as I started on my mentoring journey like 7 years ago, with different groups of people right now, I think the journey that I understood about myself is I cannot be projecting how hard I will work in a particular pace in which the mentees will also work at the same pace. Like, get excited. Oh, I've been given a tool. Okay, let me go and get it started. They don't have to share the same excitement. So that is something. And then so through those conversations, I realized everyone is not going to be going at the same pace that I would. And so how do you give them the pace to allow for their journey to go through at their own time and pace that allows for them to go through that journey? So this is something that I personally felt, and now I've really established that with every mentee as well. But it took a while to get to that stage, right? So it's like, I'm hard on myself. Why aren't you harder on yourself? You should try as
You became more patient towards them.
Yes.
Probably more patient towards
Yeah,
yourself.
I don't know if it's a patience thing. It's just about the driven behavior that that one has with oneself, and why don't you have that on your side as well? But everyone's coming from different places. They could be starting from, you could be a new mother and you're dealing with so many different challenges, and then you're coming and taking on a mentoring program. Oh my God, I have so much respect for you, to be able to do that and make all those changes. So I think it's about meeting the people where they are and how they are going through that journey. It created a level of empathy in a very different way than I thought I always had empathy with people. But it was a very different journey that I've gone through. So personally, that has just transformed me enormously as a person, as a human being. So that for me has been a great journey, I must say.
Yeah, that I really feel is so much about, trying to go on that journey of empathy. Like you say, yes, you can be empathetic as a manager, but you still have the performance, review. You still have aspects where you must evaluate people and give them feedback to be better. I think sometimes a mentoring relationship can be quite liberating that way, because you're just focused on the development of that person, and helping them to achieve what they think is most important to them without the noise, if I can call it, around managing performance. So that is fascinating.
Shivanga, I loved what Sri Devi said. It really resonates with me. I think one thing I would like to share that is something practical that may be helpful for people in different situations to make a parallel. In my journey, I went through a process of really having to evolve in terms of finding ways to do things I don't like, right? So for instance, I hate selling. And now that I'm not an employee anymore, I'm not in a corporate, I'm an entrepreneur, I have to sell. And I dislike that. It's like anything in marketing or sales. It's just not, I don't know. I feel like an imposter when I'm trying to do that. So for me, it was really, really difficult. But one thing I discovered about myself is that if I, in the conversations, if I always try to be, the more authentic I try to be in my conversations, and the more I lose that as actually relationships, because that I like, and I don't care about the result, about the outcome. Will I close this deal or not? Will this person will ever have a business relationship with me or not? But let me get to know this person. Then that is really, really good. And I can do that. So I think these helped me to see that in me, to find that in me, that I actually love relationship, love conversations. I just don't like the title of sales, and I don't like to actually try to push things on people and stuff like that. So maybe go there and use that to your benefit. So that I think helped me with my mentees, because now I found through myself some way that maybe you can try that too. Maybe this will work for you, because you can notice what do you like and how can you approach that situation. It is, I don't know, asking for a salary increase or having to give feedback. You don't like to give feedback, but what do you like that you can bring into that conversation? Things like that. And I think that is the beauty of mentoring, because you can really apply your own improvements, your own self-development in helping the mentee and being at service to the mentee.
I really love that, right? I think that's really one of the strengths of mentoring, and that is your ability to reframe for the mentee, depending on taking a different perspective on the same thing. I mean, I'm always amazed that the capability, when you look at this exact same scenario through a completely different lens, it's like different things are visible then, different things that might be more aligned to, like you said, what you actually do like to do. So when you feel stuck, I think somebody with that kind of attention and gift or feedback that they're giving you, if they can reframe things for you, it really shifts something, right? Because that is often perceived as a breakthrough. I mean, that is a related question I had here from Julia, where she said that, does it take like many sessions for you? Is there like a magic number of sessions that you need to do with your mentee to really be able for them to see the power within themselves? I mean, at the end of the day, whenever somebody goes through a transformational journey, they need to work on themselves, right? And to take action. So maybe I'm interpreting that as really closing the knowing doing gap, because I know a lot of people who know what they're supposed to do, who have a list of to-dos, but they don't actually, they're not really able to take the action. So really, what is it that helps people in your experience in terms of identifying that they are at the center, of the journey that they need to go on?
I think it's the rapport that you're building. So, I don't think there's a magic number and a magic formula. I think it's about, one, what's the rapport? And then, Shivangi, it's been spoken about in this session about what is the heart of what you're trying to help them with. So if you can get to the heart of how it is that you can support and help and be the mentor, then, that's the second thing. And then it comes down to how open is the mentee to their own selves? Are they self-aware? Are they being open-minded? Are they open to feedback and insights? And that's going to start driving how they're going to perform as a mentee and as a person as you go through that journey. So I think it's how are you as the mentor setting the tone? How are you setting the scene? How are you guiding them through this? And I think all of you, I have no doubts that all of you, whenever you speak to your mentees, one of the things that you'll probably see a lot is negative self-talk. And actually, if you can get in early and get them to start a slide down on that, their self-talk is up here on a graph and you want it to drop down, that has a really positive impact for people. Just little nuggets to help them. Just, let's can the self-talk, the negative self-talk. Just keep reminding yourself that that's not serving you whatsoever. So I think as you start going through this journey, through the power of being the mentor, encouraging them to be open and self-reflective and self-aware and getting to the heart of what it is, I think you can have quite a quick turnaround when it comes to them being on board and going, yeah, I'm going to own my journey and my transformation, as you said, Sridevi. And then you start seeing real positive outputs and impact from the mentees.
Very true. Because I mean, in many ways, the inner critic, is alive in you for a reason, right? I think the journey that I go often with my mentees and coaches is to actually say, let that not be the only voice inside you, right? And that's where I think some of this modeling and mentoring helps, right? So instead of saying, okay, that's what I'm thinking, because you sort of mix yourself towards that voice of the inner critic. And this might be, somebody in your developmental years, a parent, a teacher. It could be many different things. I think that mentoring models something different, right? So what would my mentor say to this? I think that's a good question for a mentee to also hold, to know that there are multiple voices inside you, and it shouldn't be that it's only the critic's voice that sort of drowns all the other voices, right? So I think that is really a fascinating discovery for a lot of people, that strong voice, which might be critical, is the voice that can also be subdued if you have other voices that you cultivate within yourself. There is this related question that Karim asked, saying, what is the value you cultivate in yourself as the mentor that you think has helped your mentees develop? What are you doing in terms of your own development? But I like the way the question is posed, right? So what is the value or the values that you have found that you're actively cultivating in yourself? I think that would be great if all of you can share a quick value, and I will bring this session to an end.
Awesome. Maybe I could just kick us off on that one. So for me, I think the number one value is self-belief. And of course, just drowning all those self-critic voices and really knowing that that no matter what happens, it's possible. So I think just over time, cultivating self-belief, and of course, reading a lot of resources, seeing those who've been able to overcome and conquer kind of gives me impetus and motivation to know that it's possible. And the other second value that I apply when I'm leading or even in discussions with mentees, it's authenticity. Authenticity is one, it's just being vulnerable and really opening up and sharing my own journey and showing people that it's actually very possible. Because the thing with the mentor-mentee, of course, they are coming to you because they admire something about you and they are really wondering, how can I get there? Or how can I even get to where I'm seeing people be able to achieve all these big things? Is it even possible? So for me, I've seen that, just really being vulnerable and really being authentic really helps in building trust, and also helps in opening up the scene for this mentee to also be able to just pour out authentically. And that way you get to the root. In fact, it even kind of accelerates every other process that's going to, come after that, because then you have a fantastic trust relationship, and you are able to now just start building. So for me, self-belief that everything is possible. It doesn't matter what I'm going through. I can be able to conquer. And if other people have done it, I can do it. And if they haven't, I'll be the first one. Just really repeatedly telling myself that it is possible. And then the second thing is really being authentic about my journey, what I am going through right now, what I am feeling. That really also opens up to people to be able to help me, because if I'm showing that I'm so macho and I'm strong and, I can do this, of course, I believe that I can do this, but sometimes it's so hard. So who can help me overcome that mountain? And that really helps.
Thanks for sharing that, Lynette. And it is true, right? Because we see in social media and every other, sort of official communication, what is working. I think we do not necessarily get an insight into what are the struggles of people, so that is very, very useful.
And I would like to add.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead. It's okay. So I just give on that. Honestly, it's growth mindset, and for me, it's really the mindset which is like everything is possible. So even if I fail or something doesn't work, there must be a way that this is going to work. And I would then do everything to find different possibilities, because they're opportunities. And that might be not necessarily lying within yourself. You might look for outsourcing, for resources outside your maybe remit, but see whom do you have around as resources, use them, see what other opportunities are there. You might have a setback and live that setback and say, you know what, there must be a way. Let's explore even more. So growth mindset, seeing setback not as a failure but an opportunity, looking out for it, use your resources, and be mindful about your own power that you have within yourself, because it's absolutely enormous what you have inside your heart and in your own knowledge, and what you can deliver and what you can do for yourself.
Thank you so much, Julia. One last thing, Sri Devi, before we finish today.
Yeah, I mean, so I think for me has always been, or through the journey of the mentoring with many different ladies, has been, you are at the heart, as in the person is what I'm trying to help. I'm trying to enable and support the person. So that person is at the heart of that whole conversation. It's not about my expertise. It's not about what I know, what I don't know. It's really at the heart of them being the center of this. And so that's where the empathy kicks in with the compassion and really understanding. So, what is it that they're really going through? And how can I really do my utmost to help them? And I always say this is a partnership, it's on a journey that we are both going on together. I don't know what your story is. And if you're willing to be vulnerable and be able to open up, and I'll be just the same to be able to find the solution and work with you in that journey. So I continue to tell myself that, and where there are going to be some moments where we're going to perhaps even have different perspectives, right? So there will be some moments where the mentee has a different perspective than I do. Then we'll just have an honest conversation. And I say, hey, I'm willing to put this on the table. This is really a challenge for me. I don't have all the tools and resources to help you, but I'm going to try my best to help you. And I'll be able to point you in the direction where you can also get those resources. So for me, that's why I relate to what both Huila and Lynette said, you know, the authenticity, the vulnerability, but most importantly, they are at the heart of change. And then the empathy and the compassion that I can bring to help support them in their journey. So that's been...
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. This has been really, wow, 1 hour, but it has been an amazing, amazing conversation. Lots and lots of nuggets that we hope to share over time. I want to take a moment to wish all of you a relaxing holiday season whenever you go to it, and have a very nice afternoon. Thank you so much, ladies. Bye for now.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Shubhengi.
guys.
Bye,
It
ladies.
was great
Bye,
to be
everyone.
here
Bye.
with you guys. Have
Bye.
great holidays.
Mhm.